All right. All right. Good evening and welcome to the April 11th Bennington Select Board meeting. I am Jeannie Jenkins. I chair this board, and I'm going to ask my fellow board members to introduce themselves, starting with Gary.
I'm Gary Corey. Welcome.
Good evening, Tom Haley.
Good evening. I'm Jim Carroll.
Hi, I'm Jean Connor.
Hello, Sarah Perrin.
And hello, I'm Bruce Lee Clark.
Wonderful. Also with us tonight, we have our town manager, Stu Hurd. We have Nancy Lively taking wonderful minutes as always. And we have Jim Vyers on the camera for Cat TV. Thank you all. So first order of business, I'd like to amend the agenda to add an item after the COVID update and before public comment. We're honored to have Joe Waugh with us here tonight, who is the Southern Vermont Regional Director for Ethiopian Community Development Council, which is ECDC. And we would like him to be able to say a few words to us, which is lovely. Could I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you. A second?
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Wonderful. All right. So with that, let's start as we always do with the Pledge of Allegiance. Jim, would you lead us in that?
Sure. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Jim.
You're welcome.
Jean, would you please read our town vision that guides all our work?
Yes, I will. One day I will have this memorized, but I'm not there yet. Bennington is a welcoming, engaged, inclusive, resilient community where everyone, regardless of identity, shares in our vitality and benefits from an outstanding quality of life.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, next up is reorganization. So the first meeting in April, we reorganized ourselves as a board. So we'll start with vice chair. Do I have a nomination for vice chair?
Nominate Jean Connor.
Excellent. Do I have a second for that?
Second.
Thank you very much. Any discussion? Seeing none, I'll ask for a vote. All those in favor of Jean Connor as vice chair, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right, so now I'm going to turn this over to you for nominations for chair.
Yes, now the floor is open for nominations for chair.
Madam Vice Chair, I'd like to nominate Jeannie Jenkins, and I'd like to go on about why I think.
Feel free.
In the last year, the board has been really very busy and productive. We've done a lot under Jean's leadership, and I want to just cite some of those milestones. Let's see. We as a board have continued to support economic development in Bennington, adopting new zoning regulations that encourage growth in the downtown, form-based zoning, supporting the TIP extension, providing revolving loan loans to downtown businesses to help them grow. We've seen over a dozen new businesses in the past year, 5 ribbon cutting in the downtown in the past month. We as a board have promoted recreation as a top priority for Bennington, with more programming for seniors and youth through the use of Venom High for community and recreation use, expanding outdoor trails, including rail trail, now being cleared by the fire just outside the windows here, and the trail connecting the Orchard Village and Willow Park that allows kids to get to school safe. We also have had use of SBC fields for Bennington community use, made Willow Park playground renewal a priority this year. Through our ARPA funds, we have shepherded the development of projects that met ARPA guidelines for housing, recreation, and economic development. I could keep going on, but
You can stop.
Time marches on.
Do I have a second for Jim's nomination?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any noes? Any abstentions? Okay, congratulations.
Thank you. That was really sweet, and it really is an honor. This is an amazing board, as everyone out there knows. Everybody here works like crazy. We are really, really proactive and busy board, which is wonderful. So thank you.
I turn the
All right.
meeting back over to you.
All right. So next up then is the consent agenda. For the purposes of discussion, do I have a motion to accept the consent agenda?
Move
So
to
moved.
accept.
Second. I missed them both.
Okay. Any questions or comments for Nancy on the minutes or Stu on the warrants that have not already been addressed? No? In that case, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
That's everybody, yes? All right, great.
Madam Chair,
Yes,
there are 2 liquor licenses that you basically approved, but we do need to get their signatures because both of them are new licenses. So I'm going to circulate those for your signature.
yes, thank you. Wonderful. All right, and so now we are going to move directly into our COVID update. Maybe the last one until fall? Let us know. Dr. Trey Dobson is with us.
Depends on what you want to hear, I guess. But just a couple of quick things. One is I often am asked, or at least I have been over the past few weeks, maybe past month, did Vermont get it wrong because our cases shot up so fast with Omicron? In fact, you probably saw, maybe even the last time I was here, our case rate had become nearly top in the nation. And people said, did Florida have it right? And the answer is so absolutely not. We prevented our health system from being overwhelmed by the actions that people of all political stripes, all cultural stripes did in Vermont. We had either the lowest or near the lowest on almost every indicator. Hospitalizations, deaths, along with Hawaii and a couple other states. And that's tremendous. And so we absolutely did everything right, and we continue to. That doesn't mean it's going away. It means it's just going to wax and wane, and we'll have to continue doing what we know to do. So let's just talk about some of those things. The first, we all saw today that Philadelphia reinstituted its mask mandate, or if you didn't, it just happened today, and some other cities may follow. It's tough because mask mandates and the word mandate itself can really get in the way of the principle of what we're trying to achieve, right? It's a positional thing. So our principle is we want to decrease transmission as much as possible and protect the vulnerable. And we should strive to do that in ways that everyone can, or at least a majority can, agree upon. So there's 5 ways we can do that, and I actually mentioned those 5 ways last time, and I'm going to mention them again, and if I come in the fall, I'll mention them again then. The first is being up to date with vaccination. It is so clear, it is so well correlated. You cannot argue that anymore on YouTube or whatever you want to go to, that higher vaccination rates up to date leads to less deaths and less hospitalizations, period. That's true among older people, it's true among the vulnerable, and it's true among younger people as well. Second, if you are at risk, or if you are vulnerable, or if you live with others that are vulnerable, and you're in an indoor space that has poor ventilation, even if the prevalence of the virus is lower, you should still wear a mask. It doesn't mean that everyone around you is, but if you're vulnerable, you should do that. For example, I'll give examples, would be traveling in airplanes and airports for the next foreseeable future, even though the virus may wax and wane in its prevalence. Anytime you mix people from all over the globe, I don't care if you're talking about COVID or flu or GI bugs, you're going to have, that's how the virus spreads. That's how infectious disease spreads. It's how smallpox spread as people traveled, not airplanes, but as people travel. The next, home tests, they have their problems, but they also have their use. And I say that because I don't want people to be depending on them too much, but they also have a really good use. And that is, if you start getting symptoms and you have a home test, it's so much more convenient, it's so much easier to do. You should do that. But you can't just stop there. You need to go ahead and wear a mask around others. It could be the flu. You don't want to spread the flu. I don't want to catch the flu from you, and you don't want to catch it from me. It could be COVID. Same thing. I don't want to catch it. You don't want to catch it. And then you test again. You sort of have to really keep testing with antigen tests. That's how they're designed. In fact, I mentioned last time, they almost always come in a pack of 2. And if you read the fine print, it's because you're supposed to do 2 tests over 24 hours, not just 1. You still can get PCR tests in our area, and we're actually really committed at SVMC. Our physicians are committed to continuing to do PCR testing as long as it takes, because there is real value in doing that test. I know that the state of Vermont and many other places have backed off on that, and with good reason, but they're not eliminating it. They're just saying we don't need to have PCR tests for every time that you need to test for COVID. Next is we all need to have a plan in our homes. I mentioned you should just talk about it at dinner every month or so about what you will do when one of you tests positive for COVID. Just like I hope you do at least a couple times a year for things like, what do we do if there's a fire in the home? What do we do if we lose transportation? Standard family planning. So in my family, we've had the discussion. Fortunately, again, we don't have a vulnerable person in the family, but if one of us tests positive, we know how to continue to do work as long as we feel well, and we know what to do to separate ourselves in our home. And it's going to be variable depending on your own home situation, if you have kids from college back and forth, and just be ready. And that way, when it happens, you're not you don't have so much angst about trying to plan it. And then finally, and this one gets easier and easier, but it's still more difficult than it should be, and that is knowing how to get treatment if you are at risk. So if you are at risk, there is treatment. And when I say at risk, if you're over 65, if you're pregnant, or if you have a medical condition that puts you at risk. So that's a lot of people right there. That's almost a majority of the population. Know how to get the treatment. There's oral treatment. There's 2 oral treatments, and then there's also some infusion treatments. Probably the better treatment of them all is one in particular, oral treatment called Paxlovid, which you've read about. The only problem with Paxlovid is it doesn't mix well with certain medications. So if you're on those medications, you either need to stop those medications while you're taking the Paxlovid, and that's perfectly safe for most of them, not all of them, or you can go to another treatment. And right now, it's just not quite as available as it needs to be. I'll tell you, ideally, you go test somewhere or at home, you test positive, and you make one phone call, and it's determined whether or not the medicine is, as the commercials say, right for you, right? You shouldn't have to go to your doctor. You shouldn't have to make those appointments. So hopefully doctors' offices are working hard. I know I've been encouraging those in the community to have it set up where a phone call can be triaged by a staff member or a nurse who can say whether or not you qualify and then call that prescription in. By the way, it's still without charge because your tax dollars paid for it. You can go to locally here in Bennington to our Express Care or to our emergency department if you feel very ill, and you can get treatment there. And then in some places, not in Vermont right now, but in many parts of the country, you can actually go to the pharmacy, get tested. If you test positive, you can get a prescription for the medicine. So I'll stop there and see if there's any questions.
I got a couple. Have we seen a spike at SVMC in COVID cases, or were you just generalizing about the state?
Yeah, actually we haven't at SVMC. Our numbers are so small to begin with that we would see that actually. We are in the state. We got down as low as in the less than 15, I think around 10 hospitalizations in the state, and now we're back up to about 25. The demographics of those that are hospitalized remain the same, and that is about 80% of those less than 85 are unvaccinated and unboosted. The remainder are at the extremes of age.
Secondly, have we seen any of the BA2 variants?
Most likely, yes. We don't test for it much. We certainly don't test for this locally. It's sent off to a lab. We know it's in Vermont. We know that in the Northeast it's now up to 80%. It almost doesn't add value to go through the steps since we know it's prevalent.
Mm-hmm. And final question is, do you have a general sense of the percentage of Benningtonians who have been inoculated?
You mean through active vaccination in that way? Because, you know, I just have to look up the numbers. I mean, I do know that in the state of Vermont, those over 5 and above were nearly 70%. We're at like 67% for the state or higher that have also received boosters if they're eligible. So I just would have to look it up. I can say our rates aren't dramatically different than other parts of the state.
Thank you.
Great. Any other questions on this end? No?
What is your recommendation on whether folks should get the additional booster? For instance, I've heard, and I don't know if this is a medical opinion, if you're having a wedding to go to or you're traveling, you might want to hold off and get your booster just prior to those types of events.
Right, it's really theoretical. Let me just start off with the good news. The good news is that the first booster really provides by far the biggest jump in your protection, and that has remained. And all of the data that's come out of Israel and the first places that have provided the boosters for different age groups really shows that, and that's kind of been overshadowed. What the additional booster has done is it's decreased slightly hospitalizations, deaths in people at extremes of age. Now, I really want to answer your question, because people don't want to hear all the back and forth. They just want to say, should I get it or not? So let me just tell you that. There's 2 categories of people, 3 categories of people. You're eligible. So for example, I'm not eligible for that booster, so it's an easy question for me to answer right now. But if you are eligible, the question is, are you over 65? And if you are, then there is enough benefit with the vaccine, with the booster, the second booster, to go ahead and get it. It's probably short-lived because that first booster raised you up so much, but it is worth it. The second category is if you are at risk, you're over 50, and you're at risk for medical issues. So if you're over 50, you're not pregnant, which is a high risk factor, but if you're over 50 and you're being treated for cancer, if you have some type of immunosuppression, then yes, you should get it. And finally, anyone else who keeps asking themselves over and over, should I get it, should just get the booster. Because it's true. It makes you anxious. I would just say, sure, everyone should get it, and I can't, because the data doesn't back that someone who is 55, healthy, has had their first booster, really needs that next booster.
Great, thank you. Sarah, did you? That was your question too? Okay.
Pardon me, yeah.
Okay. Bruce, any question?
No.
No. Anyone from the community have a question? Yes, please. You're probably going to have to go up there because Cat TV won't be able to hear you otherwise. One day we'll have 2 microphones.
Good evening, Clark Adams. My question is the prevalence, or is there any monitoring going on to identify the prevalence of asymptomatic infection in our population? And if so, where do we fall? Is that something that people really need to be aware of, that they can in fact be ill without being ill?
I'll answer that. I think what you're insinuating is absolutely right. There is no strong mechanism right now to monitor either asymptomatic infections or, for that matter, even mild symptomatic infections. Probably many people are having mild symptoms and they're just not saying it. They're not telling anybody about it. They're not testing. They may not be worried about it, or they may consciously be deciding that. The problem is the effort to go do that monitoring is pretty extreme. So certain locations and certain parts of the population should do that. So I'll just give you some examples. Military quarters, where if a lot of people went out really quickly, it could be disastrous for a military unit. Even certain university settings where people can easily test, can afford to test, should do so and will continue to do so. But for much of the population, it's actually, it would be value added, but the effort to go about doing it right now is so high, it doesn't overtake the cost. And when I say that, I don't mean money, I just mean resources and time involved in doing that. Maybe it will at some point. You know, early in the pandemic, we often talked about the ability to everyone just have these at-home tests and get them done, and we're still not there. And we may not be there ever. We never got there for influenza and other diseases. So.
Great. Any more questions from the community? No? Then, all right. So
Thank you, guys.
We'll see you in the fall.
In the fall sounds great.
We think, unless something bad happens,
Sure.
then we will call you.
Sure. All right, see you.
We
Thank
hope
you.
to see you in the fall.
Thank you, Trey.
Yes, let's do fall.
Or he can call us.
Yeah, call us, that's true. All right. All right, so next I would like to invite Joe Waugh to come up. He's the director of the Ethiopian Community Development Council, or ECDC, which is much easier to say, for Southern Vermont. And he is working very closely with Bennington County Open Arms on this side of Southern Vermont. So we wanted to give him an opportunity. He was in town today to come and address us.
Thank you, everyone, and thank you for the invitation. So my name is Joe, and my last name is Wia, and I'm the director of the Ethiopian Community Development Council. But for short, we say ECDC because it's so long to pronounce. We have our office, our headquarters is in Arlington, Virginia, but we have over 20 offices across the country. We recently, let's say October of last year, opened our branch office in Brattleboro, and we are one of the 9 refugees resettlement agencies in the country. I have been living in Brattleboro for the past 10 years, and I was fortunate to be hired as a director for ECDC. And since I took office last September, we have been working so hard establishing the office, recruiting staff. And on January 3rd, we received our first arrivals. Just going back a little bit, when we opened the office, initially we thought to receive 75 regular refugees. When I say regular refugees, meaning refugees from anywhere around the world. But while we were in that preparation, quickly things changed in Afghanistan, so we were asked by the State Department to focus on the Afghan population. So we quickly changed our projection of 25 Afghan refugees to 100 Afghan refugees. And the regular refugees program was suspended at that time. Since we did our projection, we have received up to date 92 individuals. Of the 92 individuals, we have 19 families, 19 singles, 31 children so far arrived in Southwestern Vermont and Bennington. In Bennington, we have 4 families here, and tomorrow we will have another family joining them to make it to 5 families. I want to start to thank all of you here, the town of Bennington, and especially the Select Board as well, for your support to the refugees population. Today, I'm visiting some of the families that we settle here, and what I'm hearing from them is so positive. They feel welcome here, testimony to the good work of all of you. We have increase in requests of people from our Afghan population who want to come to Bennington, including those that are still on the SIT campus right now. So this is a testimony of the good work all of you have done. You have made this community a welcoming community, and people now are requesting to wanting to come to Bennington to settle here. So I want to say thank you on behalf of ECDC and in the Afghan population for all you have been doing for them and continue to do. Right now, the program we have, which is we call it APA Phase 1, ended in February. So we were asked to focus on APA Phase 2, meaning to receive additional Afghan refugees. We said to the State Department that for us in ECDC in Vermont, we were going to request only 30 individuals, and of those 30 individuals, we were going to focus on people that are already here requesting for their relatives to come and join them. So that's our approach for now. We have started receiving some of the 30 individuals who have relationships here. So it could be, family, friend, brother, someone that you have worked with before, but wanting to come and join you here. Among those, also we are getting requests from other states, people that are here, reaching out to some of their relatives, wanting them to come and join them to build their own community here. And I think, again, going back to what I said earlier, is because of the kind of support that our refugees population is getting here across Vermont, particularly here. We want to thank the Bennington Open Arms. It's one of our very strong co-sponsorship groups. And ECDC Vermont is one of the few organizations among the 9 refugees resettlement agencies that is using that approach called the co-sponsorship groups. And the co-sponsorship groups, as some of you may know, is 7 to 10 individuals who come together, volunteers, and commit themselves to 9 months of continuous support to a refugee's family that has been paired with them. And that has been working very well for our families here. And we now have the added pressure for some of the families who don't have co-sponsorship groups, asking us, can I get my own co-sponsorship group also? So we want to thank you. I want to pause here for now and open to questions. Thank you.
Thank you. And sorry for mispronouncing your name. Any questions from the board? No? Any questions from the community?
Yes.
Hi, my name is Vicki. And
Vicki.
You have to go up.
Hi, my name is Vicki. And what I was wondering is if you could give some information about folks who may want to sponsor and work with some of these folks that have come to Bennington?
If I want to give information?
No, information on how someone could volunteer with your organization, with the folks who are in Bennington.
Okay, great. I think the best person to reach to is Grace. Grace is there. So Grace is working with the Bennington Open Arms, and I think some of you here are also members of our co-sponsorship groups. But I think if you want information on how co-sponsorship groups work, or you want to volunteer, reach out to Grace, and I think she would point you to the right direction.
So Grace, Grace Winslow, do you want to stand up just so Cat TV can see your face? Thank you. Do you want, if someone wants to contact Bennington County Open Arms, how should they best do that? And you need to be at the microphone in order to say it.
Grace, my name is Grace Winslow. Bennington County Open Arms. Why am I looking over there? Oh, I'm sorry. If you would like to contact Bennington County Open Arms about volunteering, Vicki, I will call you personally, but it is bcopenarms, all together, at gmail.com. bcopenarms@gmail.com.
Thank you. Great question. Yes, Jenny, please come up to the microphone.
Hi, Jenny Dewar. I'm wondering, when we took a couple of them around on a tour, there was an issue about getting halal meat. Do they have cars? Is there a way to get them to Albany to go shopping for meat?
Yes, and that's probably a Grace response as well. Do you want to do that?
We do have volunteers that drive them over to Ali's Circle Pizza and Halal Market in Albany. He's a lovely human being. And we go there because that gentleman is Afghan. You can go to other halal markets in, like Central Ave, but they tend not to be Afghan owners. So we go there, we buy wonderful naan, and cardamom by the pound. I don't know if you shop for cardamom, but you get it in this little tiny container with a plastic container inside the little tiny container. And it's got like 6 pods. You can buy giant bags of it. So it's a great place to shop.
Can you tell us what halal means?
Oh, halal. Do you want to explain that, Joe? I want to give you some airtime.
I don't know the direct meaning of halal, but what I do know is the way that the meat that Muslims prepared, the way the animal is being slaughtered. There's a special way the animal is being slaughtered, and then it's called halal. I think that's the only information I have on it.
And the meat must be slaughtered by a Muslim, yes?
I think there's a special prayer that goes on before the animal is slaughtered.
Yeah, it's similar, similar to kosher.
Okay.
I mean, it's a different process, but
We,
similar concept.
in Brattleboro, we have an imam among the folks that came. So we have some farmers that said to us, we have this, sheep or meat that we want to kill, want to donate, and then we reach out to the imam to help do that. So if anyone wants to help, I think Grace will be here to help with that arrangement.
Great questions. Any other questions? No. So Joe, I know you have had a very long day. We thank you very much for ending your day with us.
Well, I should say thank you to you all and for this chance, and thank you very much.
Thank you. It is. It is an example of our vision statement. All right, so next up is public comment. I believe there's a copy of the rules for public comment up on the microphone. You're looking at me like public comment isn't up next. It is.
Yeah, it is.
Okay. And so generally 3 minutes is something that's not on the agenda and we will all benefit from. I do want to say that actually Tom and I had the opportunity to have a conversation around inclusiveness the other week that in fact, someone brought up an observation and suggested a change in how we do public comment. So it's a small tweak, but I wanted to share it with everybody. So it would be that both in public comment and in questions and comments during agenda items, the protocol is the same, except that after a member of the public makes their statement, they will sit down, and then any comment, clarification, or follow-up from the select board will be made. So this will allow for a smoother flow so that everyone gets to speak once before anyone gets to speak twice. So we'll try this tonight. So first up, oh dear, Jay, yes? And please introduce yourself when you come to the podium to speak about flags.
Jay Iskowitz,
okay.
Resident of Bennington all my life, 4 years in the Navy. Just a little background, I was Engineman 3rd Class, Brownwater Navy in the Mekong Delta. 4-man crew, and I want to emphasize that my complaint is not based on race. One of the crew members was a black gentleman from California. He is my brother. Haven't seen him since I left Vietnam in '67, but he will be my brother. When you duck bullets together, there's a bond. And my complaint is that the BLM flag, whether you believe in its reason or not, does not belong on the same flagpole as the Vietnam veterans flag. I spoke with the town manager. approximately the 27th maybe of March about it, and he told me they didn't have another poll. Then I suggested take it down if you don't have a poll for it. Vietnam, it was all races, all genders, all religions, and all lives mattered. I believe the first PBR sailor lost, or one of the first, was a black gentleman on PBR 116. Was blown over the side in the river, and from my memory, I don't believe they ever retrieved his body. They couldn't find it. So it's not based on race. I was very offended, especially on the 29th of March, which is Welcome Home Vietnam Veterans, the welcome we never got back in the 60s and the 70s, and that flag was flying. Now I see that flag is still flying. The Vietnam Veterans flag is down. And I would like to suggest that if that flag is so important, put up another pole. Otherwise, you can't have it on the pole with the American flag. The American flag flies the highest on the right, and one flag can be on the pole along with it. But it cannot be a political reason or etc. And I don't believe that the BLM flag should be with the Vietnam veterans, because all lives mattered there.
Thank you, Mr. Rick.
And when I say that it was all races, all religion, etc., and all genders, there's 8 beautiful women's names on the Vietnam Memorial Wall in Washington. So all lives mattered, and that's my complaint.
Thank you very much. Next, Nancy White.
Nancy White, Bennington. I want to address the newest change you brought up for censorship, where citizens can only ask a question and then sit down. Anybody who watched a select board meeting prior to 7 or 8 years ago is fully aware citizens used to be welcomed, citizens used to be encouraged to come in here to bring their questions, to make their comments. And I've watched this board over the past year go out of your way to limit information that citizens can seek from you. You're elected to keep us informed. And if a person can't come to a select board meeting and ask you a question and get an answer, every person in this town should have a huge issue. And the reason I have to waste so much time coming here is over the past several years, the select board has failed to provide the information they used to for the first 35 years that I watched the meetings. So my questions tonight: how many public hearings is the select board required to hold when proposed zoning changes come before you?
I'm sorry, how many public hearings
is the select board required to hold when proposed zoning changes come before you?
Okay, and your next question?
In December, you stated that the group you gave the $200,000 revolving loan to that wanted a nonprofit grocery store on Main Street would first have to raise their $350,000 before they could access the loan. They raised less than half of their $350,000, but they're already spending the money. I want to know why this occurred. I would think you would have policies in place so that it would be fair across the board to everybody getting a loan. I also want to know why I read in a different article this group is trying to state that Bennington has a food desert surrounding our downtown. That is absolutely false. Any person without a car can call Green Mountain and be taken grocery shopping and be taken back. The last question: why is this town not having an Easter egg hunt this year? for all young children went through for 2 years with COVID, at the very least, I don't know why we aren't having an Easter hunt at Upper Willow or outside at the rec center. Another tradition this town has had since before I was born. And I think it's a sad thing that we can't do that for the young kids of the town.
Thank you, Nancy. All right, so let's take these 5 questions in order. And Stuart, some of these I will turn over to you. In terms of why we made the change, it is so that people are feeling comfortable coming to the meeting and being able to have their question asked and answered in a timely way. We are not elected. We are elected to do the business of the town. And as part of doing the business of the town, it is our job to keep you informed. And so when you aren't informed, we do want to know about that, and we do want to respond to that. In terms of how many public hearings are required for zoning changes, Stuart, 2. And we have 2 coming up very soon, right?
Yes, the 2 meetings in May will have each will have a public hearing.
Yes, okay. In terms of the revolving loan, the select board does not. The select board is privy to knowing who is going to get a revolving loan, and we are asked if we have any objections to it, but we do not administer that loan. So I don't know anything about the $350,000 that Nancy's referring to, so I don't know if you do.
Well, I think initially the presentation was it was going to cost about $500,000 to upfit this facility, which is in the former Alcaro space. They have begun the work. They have raised practically what they have now asked us to reimburse them for. They are working in the facility. They have purchased all of the necessary baking and refrigeration equipment, I believe, and we are reimbursing them those expenses as they submit them, and that's all handled through the Community Development Department, and the goal being, of course, we didn't want to give our money to them in a one check at the beginning, but this has always been a reimbursable project, always been a reimbursable program, and so we're just following the general protocol.
Okay. In terms of a food desert, that isn't our term, that's a USDA government term, and Bennington is considered a food desert. And we, in fact, it's probably 10 years ago now, I don't remember. It was a number of years ago, we actually were able to get a USDA grant based on the fact that we are designated as a food desert because you cannot easily walk to get fresh vegetables and fruits here. And then why we don't have an Easter egg hunt this year, I have no idea. I have no idea.
The YMCA does our recreational programming, so that would not be something that would fall to the town, and I don't know what their plans are for Easter or for an Easter egg hunt.
Okay, so there may be an Easter egg hunt or not, we don't know. Okay.
Don't know.
They're doing something at the pool with Easter eggs.
Oh, okay, all right. An alternative Easter egg hunt, a wet one. All right, thank you. All right, so let's see. No, you may not. Jenny, you're up next.
Hello, Jenny Dewar, Executive Director of the Better Bennington Corporation. I wanted to let you all know that we reached the fundraising crowdfunding goal of $5,000 this weekend. That was done in 3 weeks. We still have till May 9th to continue raising money. So please don't stop. It's been really, really exciting. We were told statistically that usually there's a lot happening in the first 3 days and a lot happening in the last 3 days, and we have had steady for 3 weeks. And so we will get the $10,000 match from the state. So Thursday Night Live is happening, which is a good thing since I already started booking performers on a wing and a prayer. So it's happening. It's going to start June 2nd, and it's going to go through the end of September every Thursday. We also have a rain location lined up. That happened today. I won't announce where it is right now, but so there were no rain dates, but there is a rain location, and it's a mere few steps away. We are actively looking for vendors for Thursday Night Live. We'll only have about 10, I think, at each one, and it's just tables, no tents. It's only an hour and a half, so I would prefer them all to be local. The downtown merchants get first dibs, and then anyone else locally who'd like to be a vendor, and we don't have any kind of a jury system for that, like we do for Mayfest. Mayfest planning is full steam ahead. We have lots of vendors lined up, food trucks, the whole shebang. It's going to be great. It's my first one, so everyone be kind, but I think we've got it under control. Our membership meeting is coming up, so if you are interested in being a member of the Better Bennington Corporation, go to our website at betterbennington.com, and you can sign up to be a member if you would like to be part of the voting public for our board elections. I want to say I've been watching the market come together, and I'm super, super excited about it. It's really awesome seeing it all happening. It was definitely one of the top asks for downtown. I certainly am excited to be able to go shop right around the corner before I go home after a long day of work. And they are working with, I don't know, 50 or so farms, so it's going to be amazing. Also, I want to thank you for your new policy on public comment. In my town, they literally keep a stopwatch and bang a gavel and stop you mid-sentence. And the public comment is at the end. So I thank you for being super welcoming to all of us and for having it at the beginning of the evening. So thank you very much. Any questions about any of it? Yes, Jean?
I just want to make sure I have the date right. Mayfest is May 28th?
May 28th.
Okay.
Yep.
Great. Super. Question.
And I have another question.
Yeah.
You have vendors, you're seeking vendors for every Thursday in the summers? What type of vendors are you seeking? Just for
Yeah, so we won't be able to fit generators or anything because we don't have a street closure for Thursday Night Live. So it's all going to be in the splash pad, and we can't use the parking lot either. So, so any kind of vendors who can set up on a table. So food, definitely, I would love to see food there if you can bring some of your
thinking of people
cotton candy.
watching,
But
like,
oh, hi. Yeah, I mean, it'll be anything. I know that the one I know so far, she does hair shimmery stuff, and she puts hair shimmers in your hair. I had it done. And then I've had these bright, shiny, tinsely hair things in my head for a while, which were everyone complimented. I was like, so she's going to be there. I just confirmed with her. So it'll be anything and everything.
Okay. Cool.
Yep.
Thanks.
Great. All right, so thank you.
Thank you.
All right, anyone else? Nancy, if you have something different that you'd like to address, you're certainly welcome to.
Now I can?
Yes, you can.
A year ago, you held one public hearing. You approved massive zoning changes that will impact every part of this town. In addition, you added form-based design to the zoning plans. So if you need 2 public hearings for one piece of property next month, how was it legal that you held one public hearing a year ago and approved all those changes, where not even one citizen had time to call in?
All right, thank you. Dan, I'm going to ask you to address that, please.
So the difference between that is that did not require a change to the town plan. The town plan actually contemplated probably for over a decade that we would adopt form-based code zoning, so form-based zoning. So this doesn't change. This does involve a change to the town plan because it changes the land use map in the town plan. So therefore, the 2 hearings for the town plan and 1 hearing for the bylaw is required, but we just hold them together, so which you're allowed to do under statute. So we have 2 hearings for this particular change.
All right, so it's 1 hearing for the bylaw and 2 hearings for the town plan change? Okay, all right, thank you for that. All right, anyone else from the public who would like to speak who didn't sign up? No? All right. I'm closing public comment. All right, on to the next agenda item.
Excuse me, could I say something else?
Is it on a different topic?
Yes.
Yes, please.
I'd like to know if it's possible to have a traffic light at the end of Burgess Road for traffic coming down. When there's traffic parked in front of the bakery, etc., you cannot see traffic coming down. And I predict there's going to be a bad accident there someday.
All right, that's actually, thank you for sharing that, and we will have staff look into that. I don't know if there are traffic studies or what, but we can get back to you. We'll get back at the next meeting with just more information on that intersection. Yes, I know it well. And you do have to be really careful pulling out off of Burgess Road. Yeah. Okay, thank you. All right, so now we really are closed for public comment. All right, so Community Policing Advisory Review Board, or the CPARB. We have this agenda item, we have 2 documents for everyone to look at. We have 2 versions. We have the resolution for that would establish the CPARB. We have a draft that is marked up, and then we have a clean draft for us to look at. And then we also have a draft of a file, a compliment or a complaint for us to discuss. So let's start with the board, and then we'll move to the community. Yes? So any comments on, let's start with the resolution. Any comments on the resolution as it is drafted now? And I will, let's see, I will remind everyone that this is, it says draft 4, but it feels like draft 15. But it's been looked at by the Safety and, well, it started with the recommendations from the Safety and Equity Task Force. We have public comments, we have Bennington Police Department, the Attorney General's Office, the National Association for Civilian Oversight of Law Enforcement, or NACOL, town staff, and town attorney, and of course us. So it's gotten a lot of feedback, and it's 4 drafts. But we're up for more. Any comments, questions?
One.
Okay, go for it.
In the clean draft, page 2.
The clean draft, page 2.
Line 27, it says the CPARB will consist of 7 members. Should it say up to 7 members?
What are people's pleasure there? So if it says 7 members, it means we need to keep recruiting, right? Is there a difference in saying up to 7 and 7?
Well, 7, but if it's 7 members, then that you really work hard to find 7 members to fill those positions.
Yeah.
If you can't fill those positions, it remains an open seat. We have that problem with the Housing Authority. We don't have a full slate of officers there. We've had it in the past with some of the other boards and commissions. I think the listers are short 1. So yes.
Okay.
The goal is to try to find 7, as the board has outlined here.
I prefer to keep it 7 members then, if we know that it doesn't make it a non-functional board. What do other people think?
I would prefer to keep it at 7. If we were to say up to 7, then they could sit with 3 people, and I think that's less representative, and I don't like that notion. So I would prefer to push us and push the community toward a 7-member board. That I think is more representative, and I think it's a better functioning body that way. That's just the way I see it.
Gary, was your concern that we wouldn't be able to have the board if
we might have 5 and we might not get to 7?
That might be true anyway. That might be true anyway. Even if under this language, that would still be true. It would still be able to function with 5. I would prefer us to keep it at 7 because that's what I would say is our goal.
Okay.
If that makes any sense.
Jim, did you have a comment on that?
I was just going to suggest a change in the language a little bit and say it would consist of at least 5 members and up to 7 members. Because as it stands right now, you could have, conceivably 2 members there or 3 members. And does that qualify really as a board?
That's a good point. People's thoughts on the board? Do we want to put at least 5?
I can support that.
All right, so, again, what line is that?
That's
27.
Okay, on my sheet it's 30, but it's okay, I know where you
Composition.
are.
Oh, well, on the clean,
Eligibility.
version, it's, okay, 27. So the CPARB will consist of no less than 5 and no more than 7? Is that what we're,
At least 5, or as many as 7, is what I would say.
okay. At least 5, oh my God, there's many as, okay. All right, okay. Do we need a consent, do we need to vote on this, or we just have consensus? Are we all okay with this?
I would feel, sorry.
That, oh, no, I thought you meant that after doing this. No, sorry.
Just this
I just
section.
meant this sentence, yeah. No, let's vote on the whole thing in the end. Okay.
Yes.
Actually, I would like us to strongly encourage, maybe put some language in there that I really think we should try really hard to get to 7. I feel like having 5, we go, we made it to 5. I think we need to really aspire to 7. So,
I worry, I do worry that putting a floor.
I'm uncomfortable with 5.
That's my difficulty with it, but.
But Jim's comment of, what if we have 2 or 3? That is not a
That would be a
functional
problem
board.
in my view.
I would rather leave it the way it is, consist of 7 members. I think we can do it, I really do. I'm going to remain optimistic.
I'd rather be safe than sorry.
All right, so I think this is still an open question, and there may be people in the public that want to comment on it too. All right, so this is an open question.
I wonder how it's worded in other boards.
Well, on our other
documents.
boards, it says 7 members.
Right, yeah, but how is it worded in their forming documents?
Same.
Is
Just
is
like
there a
what it
floor
says here.
set rather than,
No, I don't believe so.
No, it's just so Stu was saying, I mean, we generally, when we've had vacancies, we haven't had more than half of the board being vacant. We're talking about 1 or 2 vacancies. All right, so that's still an open question. Other things on the resolution?
Yes. I kind of toyed with this, but I think I just want to.
Tell us, are you on the clean or the?
So I'm on the clean draft.
Okay, good.
Page.
Page
Yep,
line
I'm
number.
working on it. Give me a second. Because I'm still toying with this. Composition eligibility,
Yeah.
Yeah.
line 30.
So line what?
30.
30,
30.
okay.
So I kind of toyed with this, and I'm still, I guess I just wanted to bring this up for a little bit of discussion. Members must be Vermont residents. Since this has really changed and we now know what can and cannot be done, I'm kind of thinking maybe we should reconsider that. I'm of mixed minds, but thinking that we're right on the border. We have limited housing here. A lot of people that work here live in Hoosick Falls, maybe live in Williamstown or surrounding areas. I'm still of mixed minds, but I just wanted to see where people were at with that, and the people who made this document as well.
Okay. So starting with the board, anyone have strong feelings about this?
I think they should be cooperative.
I do too.
Okay, I do too.
Yeah. There's a reason, I believe, why we want these members of this board to be Vermont residents. We live in Vermont. This is a Vermont town. This is a town board. I realize that we live next door to my former state and also to Massachusetts. But I want a commitment to the locality. And Vermont is very different than living in New York and even just working in Vermont. Or Massachusetts. So I wouldn't say that it would sink this document for me if we changed that, but it would come really close. That's how strongly I feel about it. Thank you.
Yeah, I think we're already opening it up to people that live in other communities and work here. I feel pretty strongly about it being a Vermonter. But I do see, I mean,
Right.
but I understand, yeah, I mean, I get your point.
It's
Yeah,
my
we're
line
10
was-
minutes away.
Yeah, my line was, we have a lot of teachers here, we have a lot of students here, Bennington College, how does that work? Teachers that are here and live in Hoosick Falls, for me, it's tricky. That part was tricky, so I wanted to bring that up.
Okay.
Well, it doesn't mean that they would be silenced from appearing before the board and stating their opinion. It's just for them to be a member of this board that they need to be Vermont residents.
Okay. Other points that we want to bring up, and then we'll open it up to public. Anything else here? Are we ready? Marsh, you are chomping at the bit.
I am chomping so much, but I forgot my supper, so I'm not chomping on that. My name is Marsh Hudson Knapp. My body lives in Pownell, and my heart lives about a half-mile north of there in Bennington. First, I want to shout out a giant thank you to the present and past members of the Select Board. When disturbing events in Bennington and across America revealed deep problems in policing, you started and sustain every week a deep commitment to justice and transforming our Bennington Police into a collaborative team with a wide range of community groups that include all members of our community. And I thank you all for that persistent, stubborn continuance in this process. And for some of you, this has been hours every week, and some of us really notice it. Second, I join with all of our neighbors in confessing discouragement when we discovered that our town charter does not presently allow our select board to delegate its work in reviewing the efforts of our police department. This is an urgent problem for our community and all around our state, as communities need legislative approval to empower them to move to just, responsive, accountable community policing. We need to work together to get legislative permission to do this part of our work as soon as possible, and I believe that efforts are underway in that direction. Third, our town, a community group, and of late our Safety and Equity Task Force have been working on a plan for our town and police for several years. Most of us know that. I strongly support your desire to get every aspect of CPARB that is legally possible started now. There is much work to do. We need to evaluate, suggest, and implement the training of our police officers to do incredibly complex work that they face, and to do it in a way that we all can be proud of. We need to engage with community groups and outside groups to do that training. The members and leaders of our police want to learn from and with our community. We need to better understand the work of our police, and they need to understand better what life is like for all members of our community, so that we can be one team. As just one example, friends in the recovery and BIPOC community are looking forward to engaging in mutual learning conversations with our police now. We need to implement a two-way feedback system for the police so we can be confident that when a concern is brought to our police, the complainant is safe, that their concern or compliment is heard, that it receives a welcoming, personal, adequate response, and when needed, investigation and action, and that the data from these interactions is gathered and evaluated to shape our policing process. So, I urge our community members to come forward to serve on this board, and I urge the Select Board to move forward without hesitation in passing the resolution before us. Then, promptly recruit, train, and implement our Community Policing Advisory Review Board, and at the same time, obtain the power to carry out reviews on behalf of the Select Board and make recommendations to the board and our police. So thank you all very much. I really appreciate what you have been and are doing.
Thank you, Marsh. Anyone in the community, so we'd love for you to weigh in, I think, on any thoughts anyone has on the composition and eligibility, particularly on the 5 to 7 members and also Vermont residents, or anything else that you would like to, please.
Good evening, Clark Adams, Bennington. Thank you, Marsh. And on the residency issue, it kind of brings to mind something that I grew up hearing about, a very hardworking and dedicated group of Vermonters called, Ethan Allen and his Green Mountain Boys, and their origin as being a group of people who wanted to maintain Vermont's integrity and look out for the benefits of Vermonters versus those people in New York. And since we've got signs up, all parts of town pointing out our great history in this town, I think the idea of us maintaining that integrity will be a continued tribute to Ethan Allen and the Green Mountain Boys in the spirit of those who formed Vermont. That's all my point. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Particularly since the New Yorkers claimed this part of Vermont. And we lost it, and we're not giving it back.
Yes, Nancy, and then please.
I take issue with the comment that we have all these deep, dark problems in the Bennington Police Department. The Select Board is the leader. The Select Board sets the standard. Leadership, accountability, and transparency starts at the top. Next down on the rung is the town manager and then the police department. Why anybody would want to be in law enforcement in this country today is beyond me. On a regular basis, you can read about law enforcement officers being set up, ambushed, and murdered. And a lot of these people we're reading about are good cops that were very involved in their community. Very little coverage being given by the media. From what I've heard, the police department has gone out of their way to try to work and do all these different things. And it'd be nice if we could get the same amount of transparency and accountability from our own select board.
Thank you, Nancy. Yes, please.
Hi, I'm Beth Ann Stubbe. I own Benmart Marketing, and I have an organization in this town. I think it's important to be clear for the select board and for the town that running for the select board is something that is important. We want to do these things for the town because we believe in the town, and just because we don't necessarily live in the town doesn't mean we're not a vested interest in the town. Some of this also comes back to the idea of housing. Is it available? What kind of housing is available? So let's make sure that when we're having those conversations about if town housing is available, if select board members live in town, we're aware that sometimes it's hard to find a house in town. But small businesses are with you. We want to be part of this conversation, and we want to be part of the organization and the community. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Any other comments from the community on the resolution? Yes, please come up.
The more...
Can you state your name?
Rose Telford, North Bennington. The more that I come to these meetings, the more it makes me sick. Actually, sick. It looks like to me that, like you're telling us what we can say, what we can't do, doesn't go with me and a lot of other people.
Well, Rose, this is not going to make you happy then. But
No.
right now we are discussing a resolution.
It's to do with that.
Okay,
You're
get to
you're
that
pushing
point.
it on us, so why don't I have a right to talk?
Because right now, because
Because
we've
you don't
already
want-
finished public comment, and right now, we are discussing a resolution for a Community Policing Advisory Review Board. So if you have a comment on that.
This is like
you're
a
welcome
place
to.
you come and you're not able to talk. People are talking about it and they don't like it. Why are we not able to talk and other people in this room can talk for a half an hour, 3/4 of an hour? That's not being free. And the way you guys are doing it, it's pretty close to not being free.
Thank you, Rose. All right, any other comments on the CPARB resolution? Okay, so do we want to move forward with the compliments and complaint document, just in case there's any overlap between the two? Is that okay?
Sure.
And then we'll vote on them separately, but I'm just, it's possible that there'll be some overlap. Any comments or questions from the select board on the compliment and complaint? Yeah, go ahead.
One little tiny edit is on line 32. I think it should be mail, not mailing. Oh. Sorry, didn't have my microphone on. Did everybody hear me? Okay.
Print out, so by mail, complete a citizen complaint form, which is available here below, print it out, fill it out, and mail it, yes.
Yep.
Okay, got it. Okay.
And then the other two comments I have is, and I'm not wedded to what I think it should be, is I'm wondering if line 27 through, I guess, number 9 on page 2 should be at the top rather than where it is at the bottom. And then the other comment, while I have the floor, is, for instance, on line 12 on page 1, that says be sure to click and submit. That's assuming the person is doing it online, and I think maybe the language either needs to be more vague or there needs to be a process for all of the methods of filing a compliment or a complaint.
Good point. So what you're suggesting is on 27 should say compliments or complaints, and complaints can be filed. Is that?
Right, and I love the statement at the top. I mean, all that's wonderful. Yeah, I just was, the way I was thinking about it, and I may be thinking about it differently than most people would, is it seemed like that should have been first. Maybe the definition does need to be, let's see.
I would just put it this way. The intent, and maybe this will help clean it up, I don't know. The intent, and really this part of this comes in consultation with the Bennington Police Department. But basically, the opening is an introduction to filing a compliment or complaint and why it's important. And I get the idea about line 12, and that can be fixed. I think it's important, though, for at least in my the way my logic works, is that only after they know what a complaint is, that they know then here are the various ways to file it. Mm-hmm. And so that's why that follows logically from that in that order. I think that makes sense.
That's fine.
So the concern, though, is that you can file a compliment in exactly all the ways that you can file.
Yeah, and I think you can say that. That can be expanded, right. So complaints and compliments, or compliments and complaints, can be filed in all of those same ways.
Yeah, and anywhere, like be sure to click on submit, that can be in there, but it should be.
Yeah, and it is actually in the online. Scroll to the bottom of the screen and click on submit.
Right.
And that's where it should be, not anywhere else.
Yeah, okay, thanks.
I agree.
Okay, so we're going to do a little reworking on that. So I have.
Just basically edit, nothing substantive.
Okay. So I want to raise a question about on page 1, line 18. Under filing a complaint, where we say that many questions about police procedure can be answered and resolved by a phone call to the on-duty supervisor. I think what is unclear here is that these questions and concerns are actually come in as complaints. They just get resolved because they are more misunderstanding. So that I'm wondering if on line 18, after saying that something could be resolved by a phone call to the on-duty supervisor, we say something to the effect of, these questions and concerns will be logged, and if the caller agrees that their complaint is resolved, will be recorded as such.
Sure.
That's good.
That makes sense.
Okay, so let's, yeah. I
You
would
have
like-
that language?
Yes, I do.
Good,
So I can send it to you.
because I just didn't write that fast.
That's okay, and I couldn't have done that off the
My
top of my
steno
head.
work was nowhere near like that. And
Okay, so anything else on the compliment and complaint document from the select board? All right, public, anyone have comments on the compliment or complaint form? So I think to be clear, we looked for language to have an alternate entry portal, and what we learned was that really the only communities that were able to do that were communities that were large enough to have a separate entity with paid staff that could accept those complaints. And I'm thinking about Washington, D.C. They have, and actually Albany, they have maybe 14 different organizations where you could go and get a form, but those forms all went to the paid staff in the alternate in the, I guess, companion organization. And then police department and that organization sort of, crossed their paperwork over so that everybody had everything. So it just didn't make sense here. So it feels like if you can do everything, including send a letter, not on any form, but just send a letter saying, here's my complaint or here's my compliment, we've accomplished that without a separate entity. So that's where we are on that. Yes.
I'm really sorry. I thought
You got another one?
I found. I know.
It's okay. Go ahead.
We're having to rewrite it anyway, so it's
This
good.
is the. I'm back to the resolution though.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Can we finish with this?
So sorry.
Any other comments on compliments and complaints?
I'm Marsh Hudson Knapp. I didn't change. Maybe tomorrow I'll be somebody new. But we did have a long discussion about alternate paths to making complaints. And for this reason, in our interviews, we ran into a lot of people who thought they had registered complaints and they were never recorded. And the revision that Jeannie just proposed addresses that. The other thing that we ran into was a lot of people felt really intimidated. I don't have numbers, but we ran into a number of people in the interviews that felt really intimidated about contacting the police department. And I just want to say that I miss that alternative, and I personally will be keeping my eyes open and ears open to hear from people if they really feel safe in this process and can participate. And if they don't, I will be back to say, this was nice that we thought we couldn't manage, but we need to find a way to make it safe. The other thing that I haven't seen this document, and I'm sorry, I saw the first part, but I didn't see this, so it's more of a question. But when we were reviewing on the task force, the internal complaint process in the police department, a person could also file a complaint by simply calling and recording one or talking with somebody. Is that in your list? So,
yes.
Good.
Yes,
And this should have been in the packet online.
Okay.
It was not in the original packet. I know that. I got a second email from Beth saying, oops, this wasn't in the original packet, but she sent it out on a second email. I'm assuming she put it online. I did not look to see if it was online up on the town's website.
It was? Okay.
It was. So I lost it. I wasn't, there's no one to blame other than myself.
Okay, just want to make
But
sure.
that's
it's not
great,
us.
because,
So, just so that you know,
yes,
in person, online, by mail, by telephone, at home, by mail with a letter, or at home, or any location you want to go to, and if you want to have an officer there, the supervisor will respond and go to where you want the supervisor to go.
And in addition, compliments and complaints can be written and mailed to the chief of police. Just
Absolutely.
in a regular envelope.
Just like a regular, yeah.
so this is a lot of good movement forward and opening a lot of doors, and that was really making it safe for people and accessible was an ongoing concern, and I think you're trying your best to do it. I do miss having the alternate path, but I'm ready to go for this.
Okay, thank you.
Madam
Yes.
Chair? Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Shirley Adams, Bennington. Just a point of clarification. This is a separate document than the other one, right?
This
And
is a
Is this
companion,
envisioned to be
yes.
like something attached to the police department
So,
website as
yes.
instruction?
Yes.
I figured if
So,
I had a
yes.
question, other people might.
Yes, that's a good, thank you for clarifying that. So the resolution is creating the CPARB, the body itself. This is, would be the new format or protocol for filing a compliment or complaint.
And just a thought to throw out there, I know the town website is being redesigned sometime future, so maybe there's a place to put complaints off to a side where it's not under the police department? Just, I know that it won't probably make a difference, but it might give
and we chose not to do that because it creates a second portal that you then have to have a person staff. And because you can actually send a letter through the mail, I mean, there are alternate ways that are clearly anonymous, if that's what you want to be.
Right. Madam Chair, may I just add one really,
Please, go ahead.
one really important point which I think needs to be stressed, that, you know, the question isn't only how you file, but who can file. And it's not just the complainant who can file. Third-party witnesses can file. Anonymous complaints can be filed. So all, even juveniles may file through a parent, guardian, or an advocate. They have to be involved. It doesn't have to be even a parent or guardian involved, just an advocate of sorts. So trying to make it as open as possible so that the police receive the data that they want to receive. That's an important point, that the police want to receive this information. Okay?
And the more of it they receive, the more
Yes.
likely they are to be able to investigate it.
Exactly. So that's all that's important and to the good.
All right, any other questions on compliments and complaints? Or are we ready to move back to the resolution on the CFAR? Go for it, Jean.
I think they're important comments.
Totally.
I hope you agree.
We're making fun of
Okay,
them.
I know, and I have very thick skin, as you know. Under possibly the definition section, which is page 3, line 4.
This is the clean copy you're looking at?
Let me go to my clean copy.
So we can put all our notes on one copy?
Definitions is page 3, line 37, 38. Should we reference the companion document there in any way, just so people are aware years from now that there was a companion document? I don't know.
Well, I don't know. I mean, one thought that we had was those definitions might move to a different document anyway, but I don't want to go there now.
Okay.
I want to pass this tonight.
Okay, the other one is maybe easier. Should we add, just for clarity, that people that are eligible, which is page 2, Where's eligibility on the clean copy? Page 2, line 26. Should we include that only one member per household / family may serve at a time?
I think, there's I don't think we need to.
Okay.
I would trust the select board on that.
That's right. That's
Remember,
right.
we're going to be naming them.
That's right.
Thank you for saying that. I know, I just like.
And therefore, if a husband and wife, or a husband and a husband, or a wife and a wife, or what, want to both be on it, we will be happy to say no.
Or yes.
Yeah, but I would probably say no.
They may have very different opinions.
I understand that. Internal conversation is a problem.
Okay, well, I guess those both fell flat.
All right, so can we go back to line, page 2, line 27? What do we want to, I'm sorry, in the clean draft of the resolution, now that we're there, did we resolve this? Did we decide? Sorry, page 2, line 27, the CPARB will consist of at least 5 or as many as 7 members. Did we resolve this? In your own head.
I do not think we did.
Let me rephrase that.
Would we like to resolve it?
Let's do resolve it. Why don't we?
Well, in as much as I don't like the notion that a future select board might go ahead with 3, which I think is a bad thing. I would second Jim's motion, if that's what he was going to make, that we utilize his language.
Can I just suggest, what if it said the CPARB will consist of 7 members from the community? If fewer than 5 members are appointed, the board will be on hiatus or something. No. Okay, all right.
I think that's more complicated than the language which Jim suggested.
I think I got my answer, man.
Jeez, you thought I was bad.
Is there any public comment?
I withdraw that suggestion. Okay, never mind.
So if Jim would make that motion, I would second it.
I make a motion to adopt the language that was absolutely clear and brilliant on my part. I'm kidding. And incorporate that into...
Second.
There.
Okay.
Yeah, what was
The
it?
CPARB will consist of at least 5 and as many as 7 members from the community. Is that true?
That's right.
Okay.
And may I?
Yes, discussion.
In the case there are 6 members,
Yeah.
what would that?
That's fine.
It says at least.
Yeah, at least 5,
5.
as many as 7.
You're referring to an even number.
Yes,
Yeah.
I'm referring to an even number.
It's a pain if there's an even
It
number.
is.
But you know what? We functioned as a select board with 6 members for a year.
Yeah.
We did.
And we did.
We would have preferred not to.
We would have preferred not to.
And we will prefer not to do that
Yeah.
here.
Okay, so, all right, the motion has been made and seconded. Any more discussion? All right, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Begrudgingly, aye.
Those opposed, please say no.
No.
And any abstentions? All right, so we have that one change. Are there any other changes, including anything you might want to recommend, Sarah, to clarify your concern on that before we vote on the full resolution?
I'll vote for this since I was in the minority, since I was the only person. I just have the concern of 6 people or an even number on the board.
Okay.
Yeah. And I think we all have that concern.
We all have that concern, yeah. Okay, all right. So then I'm wondering if I could have a motion to adopt the resolution for the Community Policing Advisory Review Board.
I would make that motion.
Excellent. Any more discussion? We're discussed out. Okay, so then all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Yay!
Okay,
it
great.
passes.
Madam Chair, just to allay Jean's concern about referencing or referring to the PD, when this gets posted by our communications director, there can always be an active link to any sorts of places within the town websites that would be an appropriate place for people to also look. We don't need to do that ourselves.
All right, and so it feels to me like there's enough wordsmithing we still need to do on file a compliment or a complaint that we should probably bring that back next time, just because.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay, great. Okay, thank you. All right, so one other thing, one small update, and I think this goes back to Marcia's comment. One small update on Dylan's rule and the authorizing language for civilian groups to perform review of complaints. Our town council, Merrill Bent, did provide language to the select board that Burlington used to authorize their police commission to review some types of complaints. And we have shared that with all those who asked to be updated, including Senator Sears. He encouraged us to share this with Senator Jeanette White, who chairs the Government Operations Committee, and that's where the review legislation has been, with the specific question of whether she would recommend that we go for a Bennington Town Charter change, or whether she would prefer general legislation, looking at the powers of civilian groups to have civilian oversight. So, so we have not heard back from her yet, but this just happened this weekend. So that's where we are on that. Okay.
I'd like to make one point here, and Stu, I hope you'll correct me if I'm wrong, but any charter change, to the best of my recollection, has to go before the public. Is that correct?
Oh, yes, yes.
And be approved. And then it has to go to Government Ops Committee, be approved there, then go to the Vermont House of Representatives, be approved or rejected, and then sent to the Senate. And then it goes backwards from the Senate to the House and has to be approved there. So this is, you know, it's not a quick process.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Just wanted to point that out.
Yep, and I don't know, you know, I don't know what, I know that they are looking at general legislation, but I don't know what, you know, I don't know what her desires are there. All right.
I have one more comment on, just on community policing, the whole process and what having a review board means to a municipality. I know there's a lot of angst from people who believe that the police department doesn't need this, and why are we doing this? And I just want to say, research bears out, and the police department is well aware of this, the group that benefits the most from having a community review board are the police. So when everybody gets all upset that they feel like they're being punished, this is actually a positive thing for them. And they are aware of it, and they have embraced this process. I just wanted to say that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Might I say a word about that joke? No, okay. Right on, Gene.
All right, we're moving on to Economic Development Strategy and Infrastructure Update. And I hope that the public has looked at the clear information that Jonas Spivak and Dan Monks have put up on the town website regarding the ARPA information thus far. It shows what this select board has given the green light on going ahead with, what those projects are planning to cost as best we know at this point, and how much money is remaining. And it's a very, very clear document that is just blows your socks off. It's great. So we have with us tonight a very patient Denise Main, who's the director of Sunrise Family Resource Center, here with us tonight because we have another proposal to consider. And just for quick background, the Select Board Subcommittee, which is Gary, Jean, and me, and town staff reviewed the proposal, and the majority of the Select Board Subcommittee recommended that we bring this forward to the full Select Board with 2 changes. Considering the proposal for $5,000 rather than the $15,000 requested, and that the funding is contingent on successful grant award of $75,000 from the O'Neill Foundation. So it's our pleasure to have you here, Denise, and the proposal was in the packet and online, but please give us a little bit of background, tell us why it's important, and
okay, great. Well, thank you. Thank you for considering Sunrise's proposal. My name is Denise Main, as Jeannie said, and I'm really happy to be here tonight. Sunrise, a little background. Sunrise was asked to participate in a proposal by this a work group called the Vermont Whole Approach. Oh my goodness, I'm sorry. I get a little nervous. A whole family approach to jobs. It's a New England effort. It's happening right now in the state of Vermont. It's been going on for about 4 or 5 years. Sunrise was looped in, like I said, 2 years ago, right at the beginning of the pandemic. Since then, we have worked with Rutland and have formulated this project called Families at the Center for Southwestern Vermont. We have worked diligently with families to find better ways to help them navigate our very tough systems. Our systems can be really hard. And the families that we often see and deal with every day they can have very difficult times and often give up trying to get services that would benefit them. So over the past couple of years, we've surveyed over 150 people in Rutland and Bennington counties. We have had focus groups for both parents and service providers in both counties, and from that we pulled together some data, and we conducted a 3-month pilot last fall. And that pilot showed us the value of social capital, the building of social capital with the parents that we were working with, as well as the navigators, or the service providers, we call them navigators. And we were able to host, during that time period, via both Zoom and in person, some events, the sharing of food and the sharing of company and breaking the isolation that so many people were feeling during that time frame. And at the end of the pilot, we pulled together and did our summary, and it wasn't until mid-February that we decided that what we wanted to do was move forward with a next phase, which is called an implementation phase of this program. And what we're going to do is expand our numbers. And I'm going to refer mostly to Bennington right now because I think that's what we're interested here, even though it is a two-community effort. We are hoping to get a grant from the O'Neill Foundation, a continuing grant for 3 years. And each year, Bennington will invite 20 families, so that would be a total of 60 families to participate and to help teach us how to better work with them to reach their full potential, really. These are folks that are challenged with all sorts of history. that has made it difficult for them to feel like they belong to our community. And that's really our overriding goal. What we want to do is build a sense of community for them, have a space and a connection with parents and navigators, undoing the isolation that intergenerational poverty can bring. We want to create a strong network of parents who are able to support each other in navigating social services and employment systems to reach their goals. We strive to create a strong network of providers in each of the two communities and improve the smoothness of services and referrals for parents through more coordination. We would like to demonstrate how social capital building among and between parents and providers leads to improved outcomes for parents. So we also, in thinking about, in applying for the O'Neill Foundation, they were able to, their grants go up to $75,000 a year. The project moving forward, it cost us $85,000 a year. And part of that programming, we do offer incentives and for parents. We do offer help with transportation, help with childcare. We do feed them. We value their time, basically. We want to provide a sense of dignity and pride in what they are also contributing to us. So when I thought about, I'm so sorry, that was very confusing. But we have asked the Vermont Community Foundation to do a match for $5,000. And we are also asking the town of Bennington for ARPA funds for the other match of $5,000 to make a whole package. When I decided to ask our select board member about the opportunity or the possibility of accessing ARPA funds, it was equally exciting for me to think about engaging with the community in a more meaningful way, a more purposeful way, to strengthen vulnerable families in Bennington. And I believe that we all strive to build a stronger, healthier, happy community by providing opportunities for people to feel empowered and to gain a sense of belonging. So I think that's...
Thank you.
I will take questions.
Lovely. Any from the select board? Questions?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hi, Denise. How are you?
Good.
With respect to this money that you're asking, and I think you mentioned it, but I wonder if you could be a little clearer, at least for me, is that in this group that you formed, what's the name of it again?
Families at the Center.
Right.
Southwestern Vermont.
Now, are most of the clients that would, or families, however you refer to them, are they impoverished?
They don't necessarily have to be. We see a lot of families that live in poverty, but we are going to invite navigators across all service providers, so any parent can really participate.
So the point that I want to get to is that the navigators would, help them navigate the system to become more successful, more self-sufficient, and that's what this money would go to.
Yes.
Perfect. You got my vote.
Other questions? Yes.
Hi, Denise.
Hi.
Full disclosure, I personally have worked in development for many, many years for not-for-profits in the community and in Massachusetts. So this is the kind of thing I'm normally on board with, absolutely no questions asked. So I want you to help me here. I'm really struggling with, and I'm going to use with the fact, it may not be a fact, but with the situation that Sunrise can't or isn't able to comfortably raise $5,000 from your donor base, your board, the greater community. That concerns me because the implications of that, if that's true, is how are you going to raise the $5,000 in year 2 and year 3? And again, I don't mean to use this word in a derogatory way, but I don't want us to have wasted $5,000 and have you not have the capability to raise that same amount of money in the next 2 years.
Yeah, I understand. So just a little history with our board. We have a board of 7 folks. Most of them are working people. We just have a newly formed fundraising committee. We just decided to do this in February. The grant is due in May, so there's some timing here. And I think that our board would definitely be interested in helping to do that in the future, in year number 2 and number 3. I think I'm pretty confident that we're able to do that. Remember, it's a partnership for me too. It's really, getting some acknowledgement from the board and from the town and just the community ARPA funds that people care about this population and they want to see growth. They want people to succeed.
Yeah, and I don't want you to interpret my question that I don't care.
No, and I didn't.
Okay.
I just really felt a need to restate it.
Yeah,
so that's important as
yeah.
well.
I've got a question for Jean, are you done?
Let me see it.
Okay.
Sarah.
Did I answer your question fully, though? Did I give you enough information?
Yeah, I'm still concerned.
Yeah.
It's concerning to me. It really is. $5,000 in the fundraising world is not a lot of money. It may be a lot of money for Sunrise. I don't know your situation at all.
It's not a lot, but the other part is O'Neill wants to know that we have our community behind us, and they request that we find matching funds. So that's why we go to the Vermont Community Foundation. I thought, wow, this is a nice opportunity to ask for some ARPA funds.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Oh, I understand. It meets the qualifications. Yeah. I'm not questioning that at all. It does. But, Jenny they started fundraising, 2-3 weeks ago, and they raised $5,000.
We don't have that kind of success at Sunrise, but we have wonderful donors, and we're pretty happy with what we bring in.
Uh-huh.
And a lot of our programming, because we are state funded and we have on-site childcare, those programs are not supported. We depend on our donors.
Mm-hmm.
We're happy with our donors for helping us fill those gaps.
I'd just like to hear a little more confidence that you will be able to raise $5,000
If you don't give it to me tonight, we're going to go forward with this project, no matter what. And that's true.
Where are you going to get the money?
We will find it. We have a new grants and communications person. Again, I want to partner with the town. That's why I'm here. And I don't have any real expectations. I'm hopeful that the select board would consider this, but if this is not a good fit, then we will access dollars.
Okay. Thank you.
Sarah, Bruce, any questions?
No.
Okay.
I do.
Back down. I know you do.
All right.
Okay, Gary or Tom, do you have any?
This funds that you're looking for are focused toward recovery from COVID for families?
Well, it's not solely focused on that, but the families that we are seeing have been very affected by COVID. So I don't foresee, a lot of our grants said they had to come and tell us exactly how they were affected by COVID. And I think that the families, I know all the families that we have served have been affected by COVID in one way or another. They might not be able to articulate it. They might not be able to say, I lost my job in February because of the pandemic. But they are all suffering with many more mental health issues and child rearing kind of issues, and they're struggling. Food, we've had so much more food issues around food, people getting food and access to basic needs than we ever have before.
And the 20 families that will be helped in the first year are all from the Bennington County?
Bennington County, and about 80% of people that we serve come from Bennington. So I expect the same number for this group as well.
Tom, any questions?
Yeah, I had a couple. First, I'm assuming since we're even looking at this, that town staff reviewed it and this would qualify for
Yes.
ARPA fund spending. This $5,000, it would be separate from whatever Rutland's doing?
It would be separate from...
Completely separate from whatever Rutland's doing? They have to go through this process on their own?
They're doing the same process in Rutland, yes.
Okay, so this, okay.
They have to
I just
find
wanted
two
to
funding
reiterate
sources,
that.
yes.
Okay, thank you.
Jim?
Thought you'd never ask. Denise, are you asking for the full $15,000 tonight?
We were asking for $5,000
Okay,
for 1
so
year.
just year one.
Yep, we adjusted that.
Well, that's more comfortable for me to support this. And, I'd like to make a suggestion, and maybe you give Jenny a call. Jenny Dewar a call.
We would like her on our board.
Well, if you don't ask, you don't get. Anyway, thanks.
Okay. I do want to say, one of the things that you said, which was that the challenges that make it hard for families to see themselves as part of the community,
Yeah.
it's really what you're addressing with the navigators. And that is so clearly important to all of us, because as families feel connected and empowered, then they're happier, they're feeling welcome and comfortable in the community, and they're going to be contributors to the community in whatever way works.
Yep.
So I think it's something that it feels like we need in this community, and I'm really happy that you can fill that void.
Yeah, we're pretty excited about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any other questions from the select board? I want to open it up to the community if they want to make comments. Anyone from the community like to comment? Yes, Rose, please come up.
Rose Telford, North Bennington. I used to help hospice and other ones to fundraise money, so if you want me, I'm here. And that's all I wanted to tell you.
Lovely. Anyone else?
Okay. Well, thank you.
Then, do you have any more discussion? Gary, did you have something you wanted to say?
No, I was just going to make a motion.
Please do. Please do.
That we allocate $5,000 from the ARPA fund toward the matching grant from the O'Neill Foundation for Sunrise.
Thank you. Do I have a second? Second. Thank you. All right, any more discussion before we vote?
Do we have to wait till the next meeting because this is the first time it's proposed?
No. The subcommittee is bringing this to us for a vote, and it is subject to the matching, to the $75,000 grant. Of course.
I guess I'm not very comfortable with voting on this right now.
Okay, well, you can abstain.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. All right, I'm going to call a vote then. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, one abstention. All right, thank you. All right, thank you very much, Denise. All right. The next up is implementing the town vision. We have, I think Tom has a couple things, Jean has something, and I have a couple things. All right, so Tom, we'll start with you.
Okay, I'll keep this as brief as humanly possible. Jean and I met with Paul, is it Dancero? I always have trouble pronouncing his name. Regarding our ADA plan, and the process has started. They're going to start taking a look at all the buildings to make sure that the work that was recommended at that time has been done and that everything is all good still now. And then we met with Jonah in regards to formulating some inclusive language to be included on all town meeting documents. And I believe I saw that on Facebook already, so that work is already done. So we're slowly but surely starting to tick things off the list. And I, again, invite anyone in the community who wants to be involved in this process to please contact us. Thank you.
Thank you. Jean?
Okay, two things. I just want to say that having Joe here from ECDC is another example of us implementing our town vision, which was wonderful. And I just wanted to announce that tomorrow is a planning meeting for the Juneteenth celebration. There's about 8 or 10 partners that have been identified so far. Jeannie will be attending that meeting and I guess can report back to me, and I'll report to you about the progress that's being made. It is June 18th at the middle school. That's when the celebration's going to be.
Great, thank you. And then I just wanted to report that Jean, Tom, and I had a great meeting with the Department of Health, and they are looking at health equity initiatives, and they would like to come in the next month and just talk to us about the work they're doing, and they're very excited and would really like to involve the full community. So that's a nice community connection there. The week of May 9th is Statewide Inclusion Week with a proclamation by the governor, and it's going to look like a lot of things, but one of the things is that apparently there will be opportunities for what are they called? Meetings for community members, for the business community, and also for town governments. So to share practices and talk about steps toward equity and inclusion. An opportunity we have in Southern Vermont is the Southern Vermont Economy Summit is on May 12th. It's at Mount Snow. And one of the threads there is looking at hiring, support, and retention for a diverse workforce. And they have invited a number of business representatives from both sides of the mountain to just talk about their experiences, what's worked, what hasn't, how to work more closely together as we see a more diverse population and therefore hopefully a more diverse workforce in Vermont. Also wanted to quickly give an update on the Pathways Vermont funding. Pathways Vermont funding, which was $390,000 for Bennington, was taken out of the House Appropriations bill, so it didn't make it to the Senate. Senator Sears has put it on the list for items to be put back in the Senate's version of the appropriations bill. He is asking that we all give support to him by not only sending him letters of support, but also sending letters of support, which can be emails. Emails are fine, to all the other appropriation committee members. And if you just, look for Vermont Senate Appropriations Committee, you'll get the whole list, but just so you know who they are, Jane Kitchell is the chair, Alice Nitka is vice chair, our own Dick Sears is on the committee, Robert Starr, Richard Westman, Philip Baruth, and Senator Becca Ballant. So those are the places where we want to put a little pressure. The final bill will come out on Friday. So it is really this week that we need to put pressure. And I know that a lot of people already are sending letters, but the more we can do that, the more it would be transformative for this community to have.
Jeannie, can
Pathways
you just
Vermont.
give a quick synopsis of what Pathways is?
So Pathways Vermont provides wraparound services for individuals that are chronically homeless. And we estimate, the estimate is that we have about 60 individuals that meet that definition here. $390,000 would allow them to work with up to 30 of those individuals. They provide wraparound services for as long as those services are needed. So once they take on a client, they stay with that client. They follow a housing first model, which means that They find housing for the individual and then provide the services to help them be able to stay in the house, because the issue with chronically homeless is that going to a motel doesn't work because other things get in the way and you're not able to stay in the housing situation. So it would be transformative for this community to really be able to address this issue in a way that works. And the full social service community is in support of this because we do not have this expertise in our community at present.
And their success rate is very high.
Very high, yes. So, and there are 6 other counties that get yearly funding for Pathways Vermont. We would be the 7th. It is unclear why we are not worthy and the other 6 were. So we want to be worthy, and it's clearly just making our voices heard. Okay, enough said. All right, on to the manager's report.
Thank you. Just one action item. Bennington Free Library is asking for a road closure on August 6th. They plan to have what's called a street dance in their courtyard from 6 p.m. till 9 p.m. that evening. They would like to close a portion of Union Street from Silver to Valentine during that time. They have requested the special events permit, and the chief has reviewed it and approved it, and I leave it to you now for a motion to close that portion of Union Street during that time frame.
So moved.
Second.
Excellent. Any discussion? Then all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? No? Great.
Thank you.
Thank
and just
you.
a couple of quick informational pieces here. Just a reminder, folks, that Wednesday evening at 7 p.m. at Bennington Performing Arts Center, that is April 13th, the community is invited to listen to a presentation on Phase 2 of the Putnam Block project. That should be very informative for folks who have a lot of questions about where they are and how they hope to proceed. So that is coming to you.
Where is
Bennington Performing Arts Center at the Old Castle Theater complex right on Main Street. There have been some questions about where we are with our Morgan Springs delivery system. For those of you who drive up on East Main Street, just across from Bradford Street, the station now is nearly completed. It sits towards the back of the vacant lot there. I'm told because of the mechanicals that need to be done that it's about 50% completed. They hope to begin installing pipe now that spring weather is finally arriving for us, and they are forecasting a completion of the entire project by May or June of this year. So we'll be relocating our delivery system from Morgan Springs from Bradford Street onto Main Street. There are very distinct directional flows that will be enforced, so the truck traffic will come in by 279 to the site, through the site, no backing required, and back out to 279, so there'll be no trucks coming through the town of Bennington. And the last note is there were some questions, and I actually received some of these when I visited with the seniors at the senior center this past week. A lot of questions about the website developer that we selected. That was a very detailed process. There were 22 vendors that actually were interested, not the local vendor. Unfortunately, they were too busy to submit. Of those 22 vendors, proposals ranged from $5,000 to $300,000 to help us redevelop our website. 4 vendors were selected for interviews and references. They were interviewed by our team of our staff and came back following that with a clear favorite, which is Revise. Their proposal is to do the website for $7,800. They have done other websites in Vermont, so they are familiar with the Vermont needs and the Vermont access to the internet. And we're pretty excited to have them join us. We expect that of the $26,000 we originally allocated, we'll spend no more than $12,000 to get the entire website revitalized and up and running. And that process has begun. So.
Very nice.
And that's all I've got.
We do it now?
Yeah.
Can I just add a couple pieces of information to Stu's report, and that is, there's a Willow Park meeting, the redesign of Willow Park. It's also Wednesday night, sorry about that, we had nothing to do with that. It's April 13th, 6:30 at the high school. So if you're interested in Willow Park, you should get a seat in one of those blue seats. And Stu, when is Green Up Day?
It's always the first Saturday in May.
In May, and is the town providing bags again?
I'm not sure we've received bags this year, but if we have, we'll be handing them out. I know that there are other sponsors that also have bags available.
We're taking reservations from folks now. We haven't received the bags yet.
Okay. Okay, and I know Subaru. Didn't Subaru have bags in the past as well?
Subaru was one of the sponsors in the past, yes.
Yeah.
I don't know whether they are.
Okay.
But the plan is that people call the town to reserve bags?
Yeah.
Okay.
And identify where they want to clean up so that we don't have to
Right.
try to give folks direction about where other folks go.
Right. And based on the amount of trash out there, we could use some greening up. Yes. Okay, that's it.
Great. Okay. Upcoming agendas. Besides bringing compliments and complaints back next week, whatever it is, next meeting. Anything else we have on?
For the next meeting, I think that it's pretty much just a continuation of the things that we have been working on. I don't think we have anything major on the agenda, and perhaps we'll have a nice early meeting for a change.
I'm looking at the clock. All right, so good. Okay, so the next meeting, and then we do have a public hearing.
Yeah, the two meetings in May, we will have a public hearing on the zoning changes that will impact the properties of SVC.
Okay, all right. All right, and also just boards and commission appointments are coming up, so information will be out very soon.
We will be posting those on the website.
Yep.
And we'll be notifying those folks who are up for reappointment that if they are interested in reapplying, they should do so.
Yeah, and the CPARB will join those boards and commissions for appointments when we do those, which is mid to late May, right? Okay. Other business? Gary? Jim?
Just a personal message. Today would have been my parents' 63rd wedding anniversary. They were both natives of North Bennington. And they devoted their lives not just to their family, but to their community and to their town, and set an example for not just me, but my brothers and sisters. And I proudly say that they are the product of the town of Bennington and the people of Bennington. And I want to thank the people of Bennington, now probably long dead, who got my parents together. And I want to express my gratitude to those folks, and my gratitude to the current good people of Bennington who continue to try to do good works and work with other Benningtonians to make Bennington a better place. That's it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
It was lovely. Jean?
I wasn't going to share this, but I decided I would. So just for your information, I CC'd several of you on my email last week that I sent to VT Digger. I don't know if any of you read VT Digger, but I think a lot of us do, and I was very frustrated when I read the umpteenth negative article on VT Digger about Bennington, and I decided that's it. And I emailed them and said, you know, this is just not an accurate representation of this community. And I was very, I don't mince words, as many of you know. And I got an email back, and the person who emailed me, and his name escapes me right now, encouraged me to call him, and I think I'm going to. So if you are equally as frustrated with VT Digger and the negative coverage that we always seem to get, there's never anything positive, and even if it's something negative and we're really working on it, like community policing, we're not given any credit for that either. So we need to speak out, because I sometimes feel like, I think I use the word VT Digger kicks us to the curb often, and it's not right. So anyway, speak your mind.
Would you CC that email, because I don't believe I got it.
Sure.
Sarah?
No comments, but I do have a quick question, maybe clarification. The Willow Park presentation, that's being taped, correct? Yes. Okay, so if somebody could want to attend the Putnam, they could just watch the Willow later. Okay, thank you.
Just a recognition that this is for our Christian friends Holy Week, and it is in the midst of Ramadan for our Muslim friends, and we wish them all a good holiday.
Wonderful.
That's it.
All right. It's a lovely note to end on. Do you have a motion to adjourn?
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you all.